Hi, Faith.
Hi, Liz. How are you?
Well, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm driving, so I'm just gonna have you on in my background until I get home in like 15 minutes.
Okay, that sounds good.
I'm
For
gonna
now,
have you.
go ahead.
You'll be in my driver's seat.
Nice. I'm riding with you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, it's just the two of us so far, so I'll be quiet for a while until someone else logs on, I think.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, Jewel. Jewel, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Coming through.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm okay.
It's been quite the week, huh?
It's been more than a week for me.
Yeah.
Do you do readings?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Oh, I need to see you.
I would love to talk with you one-on-one for sure.
Okay, let's make that happen.
Okay. How about I send you a link to your email so that you can look at the schedule and see if there's anything that works for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I would love that.
All right. So it's Faith is driving. Faith is also not your Faith, but actually another client of mine is driving. So she will not be actively participating right now. So it's the two of us. I think I'm going to wait a couple minutes. I heard there are some people who are running late. So I think I'm just going to wait 2 more minutes before I start getting into any content.
Okay. You look great.
Ah, thank you. I put on like my favorite witchy shirt.
I love it.
Thank you so much.
I love it. I mean, I do. I want to get there. I want to get there. I'm learning the cards.
Oh,
but
yeah.
So I've been reading just one a day for myself for 2 months now. And I'm just not getting the hang of it, but a lot has happened since the 2 months. And my life just kind of blew up in my face.
That sounds like you've been going through it.
Yeah. So
I pulled a card just a couple minutes ago before I started this. It's a coffee oracle deck. It's very unique. It's inspired by coffee beans. And so you can see the green beans there, but this card is called flow. And I think it's really, you'll see in the presentation that it ties into some of what we're dealing with right now energetically. But it says, surrender to divine flow. When change comes into your life, it is because a larger dynamic is moving you closer towards your life's purpose, even if it may not seem so in the moment.
Oh my God, Liz, we really got to just get off the clock and talk, okay? Because that is just speaking to my soul right now. And I am in a sticky situation.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're not patient. You're not patient.
Yeah, it can be challenging. I would, yes, definitely. We will connect more. I think, let me just take a look and see if I heard from anyone else. I think we're just going to get started talking about this because some of this I feel like is going to speak to you too. And it's being recorded, so anyone who's not here now could watch it later. I start before any of these workshops or also before sessions with a little prayer, asking for guidance from God, Goddess, Source, to please guide me safely with the protection of my guides and ancestors, to receive and deliver cosmic messages for my highest good and the highest good of all. And I come before you merely to share what is speaking to me energetically at this time that I think will support us in our collective empowerment and for our highest good and for no other reason. Well, to connect as well. I like to be with you to connect. If you can get a glass of water, right now it feels more important than ever to stay hydrated. Like some of the waters of Pisces season, which we're just finishing up, really feel like it's trying to move and help us to detox. And I think it's coming through in kind of strange ways, like acne or other things that seem maybe like physical imperfections. It's a part of your body like flushing things out, irritation, acne, rashes, runny noses. The body's trying to flush. So drinking lots of water right now feels important. A pen or pencil and some paper might be nice if you feel like jotting something down, either like because the astrology seems important and you want to make a note of it, or maybe later when we're doing the guided intention setting, that something might come through for you. I like to have little things to connect my experience to. So I have some rocks nearby that I like to have to just kind of hold the space for this, what this feels like, so that later when I see that thing, I'm reminded of how we felt here together and what we went through together. So we're at the very end of Pisces season. We're beginning this session thinking about and feeling into the vibration of Pisces. And Pisces is very emotional. It's also very inspired. Poetry, lyrics, inspired art and music come through Pisces energy this way that is like creativity doesn't belong just to an individual person, but it comes from source. It comes from something that we can't touch. Pisces brings that to us. But sometimes what Pisces brings through is like very heightened emotions and a sense of being out of control. And another aspect of feeling out of control is surrender, right? So surrendering to the flow of life when we've been conditioned to think that we need to be like controlling and micromanaging, this flow state can feel actually very triggering and make us have this sense of being not secure, so insecure. And I think that was coming up for a lot of people really intensely this week. On Thursday night and very early Friday morning, we had a full moon in Virgo. And Virgo is opposite of Pisces. Virgo is trying to feel secure by analyzing, compartmentalizing, even judging. So some of what may have come up this week is being around people, or you finding yourself even judging others as a way to try to stay safe. Like if I make a mistake, but then I'm judging someone else, maybe we're not going to focus on the mistake that I just made. We'll just be judging this other person and they're kind of being thrown under the bus. And this happens a lot in interpersonal dynamics and within families, where we just sort of take turns noticing who's made a mistake. And very few of us are brought up in a safe space where we just acknowledge that human beings are fallible and that we're going to continue to experience that. And we don't need to put anyone on blast when that happens, but rather if we just acknowledge personally when it happens, like I fucked up, and put that out there that you didn't intend to. I did not intend to do this. This is how it played out. I made a mistake or I changed my mind. Owning up is a part of our steps forward to freedom so that we're not just in this cycle of freaking out when other people make mistakes and giving ourselves a really hard time when we make mistakes. And this was really highlighted by the full moon, and it probably did not feel good. It probably hurt. But here's some of the beautiful aspects of Pisces season: mystical, surrender, and flow. In order to surrender, something needs to be holding the space for trust. And in the absence of that, I think is where we experience sort of heightened, maybe even hysterical emotional states that feel like we're really out of control. Pisces energy wants us to surrender and go with the flow. The Virgo full moon is like, yeah, but is this right? Is this perfect? It's not perfect. Nothing's perfect. It's going crazy. And leading us to this frazzled state where it's impossible to surrender and go with the flow. We might then turn to something that helps us to check out. So if it's a substance or a certain activity that gets us like out of the moment so that we can get some relief, that's really common in Pisces season. Even taking a nap is an expression of this. Getting relief through whatever method that you have isn't shameful. It's part of what we need in order to restore ourselves. But when we are not honest about it, it takes on another unhealthy quality that is a distortion of the energy, and we don't feel good about it. We may feel ashamed or embarrassed that we became tired and needed a nap, for instance, when we're not able to own, I was drained, my capacity was drained, and I really needed a break after blah, blah, blah happened. It could be anything. Anything can tax us. This is a little list of the astrology that is current for right now or just past the Virgo full moon, for instance, on the 18th. And then the astrological transits that are highlighted for the rest of this month. These are sort of like the major astrological transits for the month. While we're moving into Aries season, we really are not done with that Pisces emotional surrender stuff, because we have Mercury and Jupiter both in Pisces and also going to make a conjunction with Neptune in Pisces. What does that mean? It means there's just a lot of energy still in Pisces, even though we're moving into spring and Aries season, which is more action oriented and less emotional. We're really not going to be out of the emotional waters until around March 28th. Around March 28th, when Mercury enters Aries, things start to be a lot more direct, and it might hurt. So since we're still feeling so tender from the Pisces watery time that we've had, the Mercury in Aries along with the sun might feel a little bit harsh. We might be getting our feelings hurt, but I think it may also be easier to address it more directly, and having the courage to speak out loud as soon as you can. So ideally, it's getting to the place where you can share in real time when your loved one hurts your feelings. But this is not a perfection practice. There is no schedule. It doesn't have to be just right. It's the best that you can muster. It's what you're capable of doing when it occurs to you. So by the time you realize that your feelings are hurt and you really want to talk to someone about it, that's when you do your best to bring it forth. And that's when you try. And there's a lot of support around that with the Aries new moon coming on March 31st. I'm very excited about this new moon. It is going to be aligned with my birthday and with Mars and Venus and the sun, all around 11 degrees in my chart. I've been looking forward to this since last year, but I think it may also be something for me that comes out probably quite messy, because I'm going to be so activated. And everyone is going to be activated in some ways. If you have planets in your birth chart, the moment of your birth, if you had planets that were near 11 degrees Aries, that's going to be activated for you too. And otherwise, if you don't have planets or celestial bodies in Aries, whatever house it's in will be what's activated by all of this activity, which is the sun, the moon, and Mercury all coming together on March 31st. The courage of Aries season is really going to be around the emotional stuff of Pisces season, and also then what's happening in Taurus season. And we'll get into this momentarily, but it's challenging for Aries to not be focused on itself. But really, this is a time for Aries energy to give us the courage to accomplish things that are not necessarily in Aries wheelhouse. So I guess that's a warning about my own behavior moving forward. I made up and my mom's on this right now. Hi, Mom. I might have a little meltdown around my birthday, and I may need some more alone time so that I can process. Is what seems like it's coming through for Aries energy people like myself. But April is really about being willing to actually be seen as that April Fool. On April 1st, it's April Fool's Day. The Fool is an archetype that represents Aries energy, and it's this willingness to like take the leap without knowing what is coming next, and how we can harness this for our greater good, for the collective at this time, for me, is really about learning how to feel feelings and take accountability for what's really mine, for talking about it openly with people, even though it is not accepted or supported to be honest in society at this time, but having the courage to be honest about feelings. I felt blank when blank is one of my favorite templates for trying to process when I don't feel right, when something feels off, and especially when I feel victimized by someone's behavior. So when I'm noticing that there's like a villain in my life, what I want to wonder is, how did I feel when something happened? When that villain did that thing, what was I feeling? And if I can find a way to talk to that person following the template of I felt blank when blank, then they might hear me. So when I just come at them saying, you're this, you're that, talking about the qualities in them that I experience as perpetrating me or harming me, just by pointing a finger, they immediately become defensive. And in April, in Aries season, defense is definitely going to be coming up, because Aries is the Greek god Aries is the god of war, and Mars is the planet of war. Mars rules Aries. There's definitely going to be some conflict stirred up, some competitiveness, and people are really going to want to fight. One of the things that is kind of joked about with Aries in among astrologers, and like you may see these memes, is that Aries energy wants to fight or fuck. And it's true. Aries energy gets this kind of raw activation and wants to really show up and powerfully be part of something. It will fight. It will enjoy or experience physical intimacy. And this doesn't have to be with a partner, but really the reality is that that is where it gets really juicy. So let's say, for instance, physical intimacy with someone is not available to you right now for one reason or another. Something that I might suggest is going for like a challenging workout of some kind. Like I live near Mount Tabor. Going for a walk to the top of Mount Tabor is definitely going to get me sweating. And if I can do that with someone, having an experience with another person and bouncing energy off each other while we do something that stirs up, gets our muscles like activated, our blood is flowing, we are sweating, we're having a real physical experience, one that helps us to know that we actually exist in physical bodies, because that's part of the Aries experience as well, as bursting forth into existence as the first in the line of the zodiac. Aries came first, it burst forth into existence. It's new, it's a little bit ignorant and just kind of sorting things out, kind of just walking through the world, making mistakes as the Fool. That's part of how it knows it's here. So doing something physical with another person, I think, is a great use of Aries energy in April. Otherwise, you may be sucked into arguing, conflict that really doesn't serve you or your friend or your partner or whomever. In May, we have a Mercury retrograde. So if you're in the process of negotiating something, like you are moving into a new apartment, you're negotiating a lease, even if you're trying to buy a car, I recommend doing as much as you can before May and getting that settled in the month of April. And then maybe just waiting until June if it doesn't happen. If it becomes like time sensitive and crucial for you to have something, I don't know what it would be, but like if there's like a real sense of urgency around the timing, it might be better to just like keep your car and keep what you have going through May and through the first week of June until we get through that Mercury in retrograde, because I have a sense that it's going to be very annoying. That's how I feel about our upcoming Mercury retrograde. Also, if you're planning a trip, ideally plan it before or after a Mercury retrograde. It can affect the technological aspects of travel as it pertains to like getting checked in or even the machines operating. Okay, so this is a little more about what's going on in April, and I will no longer bore you with that detailed information. Okay, so Aries season, which begins on Sunday with our spring equinox, is coming forth. It's enthusiastic and action-oriented. It's also direct with its action. It moves forward. It's bringing us fresh energy, independence, courage, and intensity, passion. Aries really likes to show up in their full spirit. But as I mentioned before, Aries is operating to assist some of the other themes of this year. And Taurus is a big part of our experience collectively on the planet right now. We're thinking and experiencing a lot as it pertains to land ownership and borders. Taurus as land is really being looked at because of the focus that's on Taurus with the North Node and also Uranus in Taurus. Plus the sun will move into Taurus at the end of April. And Aries is just helping us to bravely talk about some things. So we had Aries helping us to talk about our emotions, bravely talking about emotions. And Aries is supporting us with these Taurus themes by giving us the courage to really look at doing things differently when it relates to how things have gone wrong to our relationship to land, resources, Mother Earth. This is money, this is shelter, food, money, shelter, food, land, even like the concept of ownership, I think is coming under scrutiny. Nature, love, food, art, security, and what we value. So one way to honor Taurus energy that's coming through is to make a deliberate intention to get out in nature and actually experience it, even getting our feet in the dirt. And I will be the first to admit that this is something that I do not do unless it's warmer weather, but I'm thinking about putting my feet in cold dirt. Cold, wet dirt. It's been really rainy here. I don't know if it's going to happen this week, maybe after we have like a dry spell. It'll speak to me more, but I have been making it a point to get out and connect with aspects of nature that appeal to me. So something about Taurus energy is that it really doesn't want to do what it doesn't like. And this is part of the human experience, right? But some of us, I think, are more open to being in a space or connecting with something that's very new, because some of us like to do something new. It's just it gets us off in one way or another. Some folks just don't want to. They feel stuck. And that's part of Taurus energy too, is getting yourself stuck. But if you haven't found a way to connect with nature, some aspect of it, maybe it's the river, maybe it's gardening, maybe you really like trees or flowers. Flowers definitely align with Taurus, who's ruled by Venus. Venus is the planet of beauty. So if it's maybe beautiful, that will appeal to you more. Smelling flowers would be one way to connect to this energy. Showing gratitude for your money. no matter how much of it you have, especially if you could hold a dollar or a piece of money in your hand and just feel that gratitude for how money has served you and been a part of how you get your needs met. Being in a space to honor that, and then also being willing to use the Aries bravery and courage to change how you have relationships with how you spend your money or how you're sourcing your food. If there are any options for sourcing food that's better for your body or better for the planet, one thing I would like to highlight is how our bodies and the planet Earth are connected. How we treat our physical specimen is connected to how we treat our planet that is home to us and our original mother. There's some activity that takes place toward the end of April that involves Taurus that could be, it could disrupt our relationships with some of these things that fall into the Taurus vibration. And I think we may experience more news about food shortages or challenges with getting food moved around the world. And this feels like an excellent opportunity between now and 2027 is when I think we're really going to be looking at this. Where does food come from? And is it aligned with our well-being to actually move so much food around the planet instead of sourcing it closer to home? So stay tuned for that coming up. The Taurus North Node, our destiny point, the collective growth point, is in Taurus. This is why I'm bringing our attention to this energy at this time. It's there until mid-2023, and we are healing our relationships with Earth and the sustenance of all living beings. Uranus in Taurus until early 2027. This is disruption and innovation with regard to resources, security, land, and concepts such as land ownership, as I mentioned. Virgo, we started off this conversation talking about Virgo with the Virgo full moon. Right now in this moment, the moon is still quite full. I didn't check out what percentage full it is right now, but maybe let's say it's 96% full. It's on the waning side. So we're actually on the side of the full moon that is releasing energy. And I encourage you to drink water. I'll say it again, drink water and flush out whatever is releasing. You may notice that you are thinking thoughts that are troubling you. Consider maybe that as they're coming through your mind, you're releasing them. Trying to stop thoughts doesn't work. So if you are uncomfortable with some thoughts that have been coming to you, trying to stop them usually creates actually sort of a rebound effect where you get more of it in return. So noticing these thoughts and considering maybe you're processing them and releasing them is just something I invite you to try out to see if it helps you get to some peace, because it's been an anxious and activated moon that we've had. The moon right now is actually in the sign of Libra. So we went from the intensity on Thursday and Friday, very early morning, of really trying to get things right, maybe being in a judgmental space and having a hard time being satisfied, to moving over to Libra, where we could have been drawn to things that are maybe aesthetically pleasing, delighting the senses. Venus rules Libra. I mentioned earlier that Venus rules Taurus. I really like when Venus energy is available. I connected to it very much so yesterday, having a lovely Venus day. I went shopping with my mother, who is a Libra. I ate food with Libras. I really enjoyed the food that I was eating. I could taste it. So right now, you may still have some of the anxiety circulating and some looping thoughts. So we're going to hold space for that being real, maybe a part of your reality. Or you might be feeling judgy. Right now in Portland, we've shifted. I know a lot of places have had this shift too with the mask mandate. I think I might just mute. All right. I don't know where the sound is coming from. Oh, it's Romaine. Hi, Romaine. Okay, I've muted everyone just so that I don't get confused. Thank you so much. Okay, so, all right, we've got judgmental, judgment just kind of like out in the ether. It's definitely coming through for me. I've been noticing that I just get really confused when I go somewhere in public. Like I really need to feel supported by like clear signs up telling me if I should be wearing a mask or not. And in the absence of that, I became judgmental, thinking that the proprietor should have done a better job informing me of their expectations. There are people who are getting sort of up in arms about this in other ways, judging whether or not people should be wearing masks, and it's definitely available. There's also a lot of anxiety around violence and war in the globe right now, and not only exclusively in Ukraine, but that's definitely a part of the conversation. But there are other places where this is taking place. And there's just sort of a lot of angst and anxiety that is a part of the collective experience, and that's real. Meanwhile, there's also this invitation to connect to what is beautiful. With Libra and the full moon connected right now, we can use the waning energy of the moon to release some of the looping thoughts, not asking them to go away exactly, but just releasing them if they're ready to go. And we can hold space for our interest in connecting with what is beautiful, and also our interest in connecting one-on-one with people who are meaningful to us. Libras really do well socially, but they also do great in one-on-one dynamics where they're able to really make a connection with another person in a partnership. In the absence of a healthy connection, there may be sort of like codependency and enmeshment coming through with the moon in Libra. If we're not feeling a sense of trust and safety in our own self, we may be seeking security through someone else in ways that are actually unhealthy. And arguments can come through when we're feeling insecure and we're not being validated by the other person. So connecting with that it's okay to want to experience something beautiful or soft or lovely, that our thoughts are not ourselves, and letting some of what's been troubling us run through our minds without assigning judgment to that, but open up to the invitation to release. And then connecting one-on-one with people as you feel called, and authentically, like showing up, being honest about how you really want to connect with them and how you want to be seen by your person, so that they can know how to support you and how to meet you there. These are some recommendations for the end of this Virgo full moon energy, taking some time to be with yourself to establish that sense of security. So perhaps you'll make yourself a cup of tea and light some candles, do some journaling. I have been engaging in a practice that we will, let me check time, see how I'm doing. Okay, I'm doing well. At the end, at noon, we'll do an intention setting ritual that's also connected to sort of some guidance in just noticing and hearing, sensing what is around us, so that we can begin to practice holding space for multiple types of input and a variety of senses in our experience. It's not very well supported in society that there is so much complexity and nuance in our day-to-day lives that we may be hearing beautiful bird song while we're simultaneously hearing sirens, for instance. We'll get into this more toward the end of this session, but we're going to be practicing holding space for things that seem to be in conflict with each other. Scorpio is actually a part of our collective experience right now, even though we don't have a lot of celestial bodies in Scorpio. The south node of the moon is in Scorpio, and the south node of the moon represents what is coming up to be resolved, what is sort of in the karmic, karmic debt is too severe, but karmic sludge to get cleaned up. Sometimes it might be sludgy. Scorpio is really deep. At the bottom of the well is not clear water. And we're going to the depths collectively to explore resolving some of the karmic sludge as it pertains to power and abuse of power, sex, mystery, other people's money. So other people's money could be an accountant as an example of someone who obviously deals with other people's money, but other people's money can also come through for like stock exchange. Cryptocurrency is a dance where you're playing with other people's money. How other people participate affects you. Investments in general, either you participating in investing in someone else's thing, or you are receiving grants or investments of some kind. Other people's money is a part of this conversation. We may be looking collectively at lending and resolving some of the toxic capitalist corruption that has come into what perhaps could have been an ethical business, the lending business. I don't know. We haven't done it ethically. I'm not sure if it's possible, but I think we'll be really taking a look at that collectively. This is through 2023. So this is all kind of simmering in the background as we go through the shorter transits and the sun seasons, like we are finishing up Pisces sun season right now. Psychology is definitely coming up for us collectively through 2023. The depths of the mind are part of Scorpio territory. And so any work that you are doing on your own mental health with the help of a therapist or a support group, or even some of your own research into psychology and your own mental health, it is going to benefit not only you on the personal level, but it's going to benefit the collective. The more people begin to lean into this work of taking their own mental wellness as their responsibility, the better we will all be. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that will probably become more sharply in focus when we have the Scorpio full moon in April. Wait a minute. In May. Scorpio full moon is in May. And then in Scorpio season, of course, we will have the sun lighting up this energy as well. Some more notes on the Scorpio South Node. In order to transform and heal, we collectively encounter the depths of shadow, psychology, power, abuse of power, all things taboo, shared resources, and betrayal. Earlier, we were talking about the Taurus territory of resources. And Scorpio is what brings our human experience to the reality that we are sharing all of these resources. So a Taurus experience may be like, I am holding this rock in my hand. I can touch it and feel it. And a Scorpio experience is not necessarily going to be tangible, but maybe have an idea about the mind where all of that came from, and the knowledge that we can access that mind in different ways and have this resource be shared amongst us. And yet I do have my personal Taurus experience of being able to hold this in my hand. Scorpio, you can't necessarily touch, but Taurus, you can. Capricorn is also a collective theme that we've been experiencing with Pluto in Capricorn for some years. So this year we're having a really potent experience. The globe is watching as the United States is having their Pluto return in Capricorn at 27 degrees Capricorn. If you have Capricorn placements near 27 degrees, this may be activating for you as well. Additionally, if you have placements at 27 degrees Capricorn, that's directly in opposition to this. I'm sorry, Cancer in opposition to Capricorn. So if you're a Cancer moon, sun, or rising, some of this may be activating for you as well. You're essentially watching from the other side as all of this plays out. We are really looking at transforming the energy of the patriarchy. But the way to have a personal experience with this is to turn inward and examine this energy within your own life. So you may be considering how you interact with people who are your boss. For instance, if you work within a corporate structure where there is someone in a hierarchy I'm sorry, above or below you, actually, because it could be how you interact with people who are below you in the hierarchy, or how you're interacting with someone who is above you. That, to me, is definitely a part of the patriarchal structure and template. It is advising from places above one another. And if you are the boss, you can look at how you are attempting to guide or control other people. We do need the boundaries and structure of Capricorn. Capricorn is a part of our human experience, just like anywhere else in the zodiac. But the toxic masculine dominator energy that's been prevalent for hundreds, if not thousands of years on this planet is highly dysfunctional and harmful. And it has seeped into all of us. There's some amount of the unhealthy masculine energy running through us. So taking a look at your own life and how you experience that. And it may be being shown to you. So if it's not coming through you, how is it being reflected to you, perhaps from your partner or your boss or your child? These are some things to look at. Healthy boundaries are one thing. Trying to control someone else's behavior rigidly is another. Healthy boundaries, I know what's good for me. Perhaps if it comes to how you're interacting with a loved one, if they're engaging in behaviors that you consider to be unhealthy, it's not your job to control their behavior, but we can go back to what we were talking about earlier, using Aries courage to talk about our real feelings. And we can share with our partner or our loved one, when you do blank, blank activity that the doctor agrees is unhealthy, or that you and I both understand is unhealthy, I feel really scared because I don't want to lose you, or I feel really scared because I don't want to see you suffer. That's the kind of conversation that you could have with someone from a place where you're not controlling them, but you're also not in denial, right? Because just being in complete denial is dysfunctional as well. So showing up and being honest about your feelings, and then a boundary could be created, like, when you do that behavior, I won't be present because it's too painful for me. That's an example of setting a healthy boundary while not trying to control the other person. The ball's in their court for what they're going to do, but you're not available to watch it. So I hope that that makes sense for how we can be working on this sort of controlling nature and resolving it and creating peace within our own selves. Whenever we participate in healing something that's up for us as the collective, we are contributing to the greater health of everyone. You are very, very important individuals, and you are the one who is available to transform yourself. Not me, not your neighbor, not your boss. It's you. Every time. Every time. And sometimes it's really annoying that it's us. And it seems like it would be better if it was someone else, but it never is, right? Okay, honor Pluto in Capricorn, and it is there through 2024. It actually takes a brief dip into Aquarius, but then it goes retrograde. So really it's in Capricorn through 2024, where we're continuing to transform our Capricorn aspects of self by taking accountability for healthy boundaries. Also for, so we know that we need to set the healthy boundaries. And then there is the thing that happens when that boundaries do get crossed after we set them. So it may feel really hard to even set healthy boundaries, and it is, but for me, it's actually been even harder to respond in a way that's aligned with my integrity, keep it healthy, and actually say something when that boundary's been crossed. Because otherwise, I'm just going back to old behavior. Setting a boundary and then pretending like you didn't, it's very hard on you. And it's very hard on the other person too. It's really confusing. Aquarius energy. So it's not Aquarius season. We're well beyond Aquarius season at this point, but we have Mars and Venus in Aquarius, which is bringing our values. Venus is bringing our attention, bringing our interest to wherever she is. And she is in Aquarius with Mars. This is not exactly pleasant. It can be really intense. It can bring sort of a combative element to our experiences of love, because Mars can be combative and Venus is love and what we value. In Aquarius, things also get a little bit weird, but they expand our awareness and our interest in the well-being of the globe and humankind in general. So we may be experiencing a sense of, and very likely because of what we're seeing in the news media around Ukraine, we may be kind of tapped into that humanitarian vibe through that, if that is what we're consuming. If we're consuming a lot of news media, we're getting a lot of that. We may be connecting to humanitarianism by our how we've navigated COVID, for instance, and various things that have felt like supportive of health and safety for all of us, maybe coming through that way. But also we get to play around with energies like innovation and genius. Aquarius can get on a soapbox and notice where things are not working well. It's kind of like a jaded, complaining vibe sometimes, but that is also what can show us what needs to shift. And we have Uranus, which is the ruler of Aquarius in Taurus, and Mars and Venus are going to make a square to Uranus in Taurus, a square to the ruler of the sign that they're in. So it's going to get, I think, maybe a little more intense next week. Okay. So I hate to say things like this because I don't want to scare people, but my sense is that next week we may feel really alarmed about something that needs to change. So you'll probably see this in the news. I'm guessing it'll be about the war in Ukraine. Although maybe it'll extend. Maybe there's going to be like another element that's going to unfold that maybe involves another country or something. But I think our senses and our sense of urgency will be heightened around violence and war for Mars. Our attention is going to be brought to it through Venus, and Aquarius is going to show us what can change too. What could we do differently? There's opportunity here for genius ideas to come through on the collective level as well as in your personal life. So this is not necessarily in your personal life going to tie to what's taking place on the world stage at this time, but you may have some challenges around maybe your sense of vitality, the way that you've been using your own resources. Feels like there might be just a little bit of a crunch around that, making you make some assessments and think about what could you do differently. And I want to encourage you, if you have a strange idea, do give it some space and some attention to possibly come through. And this will vary depending on who you are. I don't know what this will be like in your life. Could just be a shift in your schedule, realizing that there's like a solution for something that you thought was a problem, like a scheduling thing, the way that you're utilizing your time. I'm not sure, but just like be aware. So you'll have some kind of flash of an idea, and you may judge it as not being a good one because you haven't done that before and you don't have a record of its success stored in your mind. But that is not how we give birth to something new that is wonderful. You're not going to have a historical record in your own experience of something brand new that's going to work for you because it's new. And this is going to be up for us through Taurus season. So be aware of that. Innovation sparked with the Mars and Venus conjunction in Aquarius. If it's never been done before this way, if your idea has only lived in the imagination of dreamers and in the ether, you are being asked to bring it into creation. So the very fact that it hasn't been done before is a clue for you to bring it through because it occurred to you. That's how you know, because it's in you. Folks who remain trapped in, but this is the way we have always done it, will remain stuck in this energy. So it doesn't last forever. Mars and Venus are going to move into Pisces and things will shift at that time. But innovation is really important when it comes to how we're using our energy and our resources right now, and being open. Traditional strategies will very likely fail in crunch time. Okay, we're back to Pisces. I wanted to highlight Pisces a little bit more before we shift gears, just to really honor it and the gifts that it brings. So Pisces, as the last in the zodiac wheel, essentially when it comes to the seasons, the elements in the zodiac, from my perspective, we're actually about to begin a new year with Aries season that begins on Sunday. So the spring equinox for me feels like the beginning of the new year, even though the Gregorian calendar started over in January. For me, this is when I begin to feel really fresh and new. But today we're still in Pisces season, and Pisces is the entire zodiac in one. So after we go through all the other 11 signs, we get to Pisces, which is said to encompass all of it. It is the idea that the entire ocean is represented in one drop. And as a human being, you do embody all of the different energetic properties that are available in the zodiac in your one human existence at this time. And that is just, to me, pure magic. And you have access to that pure magic in every moment if you can hold the space for it. Pisces season ends March 20th. We're going to just kind of consider acceptance in this moment. So I talked a lot today about looping thoughts and anxiety, and being in a state of acceptance as a method for accessing some amount of peace. You are special. You are unique. No one does all of the human experience in one body like you do. And you are a part of this divine orchestration that sometimes appears to be madness. But here you are. And it's a miracle that you're still here. Our community, I'm going to say something sad. Our community lost a mother, and it was so senseless. Like there's no way for me to even make sense of what happened. I've been inviting myself to be in a state of acceptance. But last week we lost a teacher, a friend, a neighbor, a mother of 2 young children. She was putting them to bed and dropped dead. And that shook me. I am so humbled that for whatever reason, as a mother of 2 children, I am still here. I don't see the sense in why this person is not, but I have felt so driven to connect with my own gratitude for my mere existence. And that feels like Pisces energy to me too. That we get to be here, that I can smell things and drink water is a miracle in itself. And I'm not going to waste it. As much as I can stay present with my desire to experience life, I want to celebrate that. And I know I'll be thrown off. I'll be triggered. I'll get upset sometimes. I'll forget. But this is just a practice to return to my own presence on the planet. And I invite you to celebrate the fact that you are here as well, because I'm pleased to know all of you that are here in this session with me. I am amazed at the people that have been present in my life, and I am just very, very grateful. Very grateful for your presence. And I'm going to read from this card again because not everyone was here. I pulled this card. I already read it to Jewel and Faith, but this is from my Coffee Spirit Oracle deck. And I pulled it before I signed on. It says flow. Surrender to divine flow. When change comes into your life, it is because a larger dynamic is moving you closer towards your life's purpose, even if it may not seem so in the moment. That felt good to me. I'm going to stop the share. Okay, so it's 11:55. Does anyone have any questions about the very large amount of astrological information I just shared with you. Okay, folks, I will take that as a no. And what we're going to do is shift into an observing practice. I'm going to open a window, so excuse me for a moment. If it's available to you to open a window so that you can hear what's going on outside, we're purposely taking in more information. I'm feeling a little bit worried about my candles. I'm going to blow out these candles. Please excuse me. Okay. If it got windy, I didn't want my candle flame to be blown around. All right, so if you would please sit as comfortably as possible. And I think before we start to take in the sensory information, we're going to just do some releasing. And we're going to connect to the earth. But for now, close your eyes or just soften them. If you don't feel secure with your eyes closed, please don't force yourself. And just start to notice that you're breathing. Notice that before you were paying any attention to it, you were being breathed. You were just breathing without any effort on your part. And after your next exhale, and make it a good one, exhale most of the air out of your lungs. Inhale deeply. And exhale completely. Inhale deeply. And exhale. So at this time, continue breathing however feels good to you. You could bring your awareness away from breathing if you'd like, and just begin to imagine that you have a cord that connects you, an energetic cord that connects you to the very core of the earth. This is your grounding cord. And through this grounding cord, you can take fresh earth energy into your energy centers. That's the neighbor's dog. We can hold space for dog barking being real. That's okay. So connected to your grounding cord, you can also release energy that is stagnant or no longer serves you. So consider what's been troubling you lately, whether it's physical pain or emotional pain, and release it through your cord, through the center, to the center of the earth. That's Bailey. Now, if this feels good, consider that you have like a vacuum attachment that is connected to your cord, and you can use it to clear the energy wherever you want. It's sucking and taking stagnant energy, sending it through your grounding cord to the center of the earth, where it will be transmuted. So use your attachment to suck up any stagnant energy, any physical or emotional pain, any sense of betrayal, and just suck it up and send it to the center of the earth to be transmuted. Once you're done, once that feels complete, I'd like you to imagine that we're going to completely renew your grounding cord. So the first thing that we're going to do is dissolve the grounding cord that just did all of that work to clear you out. We're going to dissolve it. So see it dissolving. And right away, the grounding cord replenishes itself with fresh green energy, earth energy, Taurus energy. Your grounding cord has been replenished and renewed. It is a vibrant, healthy green. And you are, as you always have been, connected to the center of the earth. Inhale. Exhale. And now we're going to do an impressions practice. So keep your eyes closed if you'd like, or you can open them or soften them, whatever feels good. And at this time, I'd like you to just begin accepting impressions of what you are taking in, your sensory information or the sensory information that you are taking in. So I recommend listening and then just noting your impression of what you heard. So I heard sweet bird song and some chirping. I heard cawing of crows, and I hear some kind of pounding. And I hear some of these sounds repeating. So notice what you're hearing. You may have judgment or opinion coming through as it pertains to what you are noticing. And notice that. Notice if you assign judgment to one sound, but not another. Negative judgment. If you observe that the sound of the neighbor's dog, for instance, like I did, was disruptive. Notice that when that comes up for you, you're moving into analysis. And drop it. Move on to the next sound. If you move into analysis and judge a sound to be good, drop that too. But just notice when you're noticing that you made the judgment for good or bad as it pertains to the sound, you may even be judging that. And that's okay. Notice and then drop it and notice the next thing. Allow yourself to receive and acknowledge your impressions as they come through. Allow yourself to have a feeling about it. And then drop it. Bring your attention right now to the sensory experience that is touch. You could start with using your fingers to touch something, or if you already have a connection to what you're sensing through your skin, like temperature, you could begin to notice that. Notice the temperature in the room. Notice what, if anything, your fingers are touching right now. You may feel compelled to name a texture that you're sensing. You can label it. Notice if you judge it as good or bad. That's okay too. If you feel cold or hot, notice that. Notice the different parts of your body. Move to your toes Notice if your toes feel cramped, if they're touching something, if you can sense the texture of what they're touching, if you can sense the temperature of the air. Perhaps your toes are only touching air. Notice the temperature on the tip of your nose. If it feels good, bring a hand to your belly or your chest and notice if you feel any change when you take a deep inhalation. Staying with breathing and with your nose, notice what you can smell. Take in the sensory information through your nose. Notice if you can smell something. Observe, maybe you know where that scent belongs. Where did it come from? I can smell some serum that I put on my face last night that got into my hair. But I can also smell my room. I can smell the incense that I burned yesterday, and I can smell the wicks from the candles that I blew out. If you have something nearby that smells good and you would like to have a sort of overtly scent-oriented experience, you can pick it up and smell it. You might also be able to apply it to your skin and experience it both through scent and touch. Combining sensory experiences can be fun, a good use of our human bodies. Through these sensory intake experiences, I'm connecting with a lot of gratitude for having the ability to sense. Sense and taste are very much connected for me, and they may be for you as well. So for me, it's a natural progression to go from smelling to tasting. So right now, just taste your mouth. I know it sounds strange, but your mouth has a taste. Taste your saliva. Just consider it. Consider during this last day of Pisces season, which Pisces is a water sign. Think about the waters of your body and how your body flows, and consider that saliva is a part of the sweet waters of your human self. You might like to take a drink of water and see how that changes your experience of taste right now. Or if you have something that you could eat, or maybe a piece of candy or something, you could suck on that and have an experience, a taste experience. Even if you experience the taste of your mouth as unpleasant, just notice that and take that in. You may have memories come up as you are tasting and experiencing through the senses. Certain memories may be activated. Scent can trigger memories for me very much so. And now take an inhale and an exhale. And open your eyes take in some sensory information through sight. So observing what you see, labeling it, noticing if you go into analysis or judgment. Notice if things become good or bad. Letting that be okay. My windowsill's dirty. I don't like it. I want to clean it. That's okay too. Just is. It just is. Taking in what is unappealing is a nice practice. Taking it in and just noticing and not being so attached to what comes up, just like noticing that you don't like it and letting that be is powerful. But it's also powerful to take your eyes to something that is visually pleasing to you, because you can. So if there's something nearby that you could look at that brings you pleasure, please do that. I'm looking at some plants. I'm really liking to see the green leaves, and I feel compelled to combine sight and touch right now. I'm a touchy person. I've learned, I've been hiding that for most of my life, but I really like to learn through touch. Learn and experience. So consider combining. Maybe you could combine sight and hearing by taking a look at these noisy crows. I can't see them from here, but that's an idea. Something you've been hearing, look at it. So this practice that we just went through might seem very mundane, but what I was wanting to do for myself and share with you was an experience where we just take in a lot of different sensory information and just experience it, holding space for that, even things that feel or seem unpleasant, including what happens when our mind starts working around what we are taking in, and just letting that all sit and be, to grow the muscle for the complexities of life, even in our very basic experiences of daily life that can feel very mundane, that you can hold space for both beauty and pain, for what pleases you and for what displeases you. And that the dog barking and disrupting me really wasn't more meaningful than the rest of the experiences, as long as I was willing to leave it. But if I was hyper focused on this thing that didn't please me, that would have taken so much focus. But I was able to hold space for other sensory information that was coming in and for other parts of my human experience. It's so basic and so silly, but I think it's part of what we can do to help each other, is hold space for complexity and sort of a lot going on, a lot of things that are very different, that may not have anything to do with each other, but they do all exist. So I am ready to close. If you have any questions that come through for you, please feel free to send me an email and I'd be happy to answer a question or two. Otherwise, we will close in gratitude and drink some water. My mouth is dry from all this talking.
Thank you. Hi, Sherry. Hi, Romaine. I just wanted to pop on and see. Hello, I'm alive. I was there the whole time.
I'm so happy. I really like your shirt.
It's a dress, but thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, it's so comfortable.
And colorful too.
Yeah. Thank you. I have so many questions. I will be emailing you, Liz, and thank you.
That sounds good. Let's just maybe take one moment to close our eyes and just give thanks to the ancestors and guides and anything that feels sacred to you. You don't have to use my language. In gratitude, I close, and I thank you so much for being here. Drink your water, y'all.
Thanks, Liz. I'm gonna go drink all the water.
Yay, thank you, Faith.
Bye.